principle. Only consume information for what is relevant to your problems. The reason I came with this principle is because I realized in my own life what I used to do is my problem is two things. First was I had a weak character, and the second was I wanted to start a business and I didn't know how. But what would I consume all day as my reading content, even if I thought it was productive, would be books for basically higher level CEOs. Books on mistakes. Like I remember one book I read about how to use mergers in the best possible way. That was, I mean, I'm not even close to a merger, so that was very irrelevant information. And a lot of books I read like that. And if you ask me how much I remember from them, nothing. Because the brain only memorizes information if it uses it, if it forms a habit loop. And a habit loop forms through action. And why do you act on something? Because that thing is relevant to you right now. If a fact isn't relevant to you right now, you cannot act on it. And therefore you won't. And therefore it won't become a habit, and therefore it won't change you. Which should be the point of any good non-fiction book. So, an example for me would be a thought experiment to conduct. A good thoughts experiments should go to the extremes of arguments. The reason is that the extremes often have a lot more truths than the middle could ever hold. For example, let's compare somebody who only ever reads and never takes action versus somebody who never reads a single thing except for has one quote in their mind. That quote being, celebrate what you've accomplished, but raise the bar a little higher each time you succeed. And they're not allowed to read a single book on anything. And the other person will not take action on what they read. Now, it seems pretty obvious which will be more successful, and the extremes show the rule more than the middle ground ever could, which shows that action is really what will determine your outcomes in life. And therefore, if you want to maximize how you learn, it must be relevant to your current issues. Anything outside of that does not matter. Alright, that ends the principal segment for today. So today, last day working at my suit sales job at Tip Top. That was my last shift. Finished it about an hour ago. So, yeah, that's it. I have 12 days in Calgary before I leave. And in these 12 days, what I'm going to do is I'm still after my goal of making one sale. And tomorrow, I'm going to move my system from ClickUp to Obsidian because it used to be in ClickUp, and it's just not as good as Obsidian now that it has a canvas. So tomorrow is not going to be it's going to be very productive in the sense that I build a system that I can work through, which is going to be pay off a lot. It's going to be a very huge payoff later, but not tomorrow. And the day after tomorrow is when I start to iterate. I start hitting that feedback loop. I start designing experiments. I start testing. Because I've run some tests. The data has been useful, but I haven't run it to a level that I want to, and the main reason is that there's no structure for it. I mean, imagine you're conducting a science experiment, but you don't have your hypothesis clearly stated. You don't have a sheet of variables. I mean, you can run experiments all day, but if you lose the learning from the experiments, it doesn't matter. So that's what I'm going to be focused on these 13 days. It's a big goal, make a sale in 13 days. But if I don't accomplish it, analyzing why I didn't will be incredibly valuable to me. So I'm never going to set small goals because the failure is what teaches you more. So I should always be failing, or else I'm not really trying hard enough. Alright, that ends my video for today.